for the filmmaker, there's this great financial independence here. If you're making $1 million movie and you're only paying 4% to Indiegogo,
well, I think it's a kind of ethical question. I mean, it's one I put to the age of stupid producers. You know, you've got this. You start out with a finite budget. Of certain amount, and
say it's $1 million.
You raise it, but then we've raised all this money. Why can't we just like up the budget and raise more? But then, if you're in a system where you want to pay back profits to your investors, your public investors, you know, there's kind of ethical questions involved.
And are people paying back?
Well, I hope
investors?
So. or is it the same model as the distribution system in the dominant media, the Hollywood system already? I mean, there's lots of things to think about in this.
But are you required to pay back the $5 to Mr. X from Baltimore?
Well, I mean, it depends on the jurisdiction, too. There are security laws in America and Canada and other places that, you know, when you start offering or making a film and having investors, then you have a certain amount of obligation to them.
That's why
under law.
And if the film doesn't get made, you have to return the money, presumably.
Just to be really clear, there's a lot of uncertainty. It is completely illegal to offer crowdfunding in America. People do it. They have it done. It's not legal. It's probably not legal in most countries in the world.
So you're not obliged to pay back the investors at all?
There's absolutely no investing on Indiegogo.
The donations.
There's no paying back for anything. It's not legal. Even if we said it's a good idea, you should try giving back the $5, we would get shut down by the SEC. It is not even legal. Like, you can do it, like Prosper.com does it for loans. You know, they spend $20 million on getting the infrastructure in America to do that, and that's just loans.
So with the Indiegogo model, you've made $1 million movie, say, you know, very optimistically. You own the copyright for this movie. All the profit is yours.
Well, presumably one has paid the crew and other people to make the movie.
Yes.
And there is a budget. And you've spent money to make the movie, so obviously it's not all.
I mean, it sounds so easy and so great, right? But there's a lot of checks and balances. The fundamental precedent of why this works, it's a market. It's supply and demand, right? So it's not like people just throw money at some project, just here's $1 million, like I hope you spend it, you know, I hope I get my perks back. I mean, it's a litmus test.
My T-shirt.
Right, it's a litmus test of, do you really deserve these $5? Do you really deserve $500? Does this project deserve $5,000? Does it deserve $5 million? It's the ultimate answer. And the scary thing is, I'm sorry to say this because I'm a business person at the core, is it doesn't care about art or not art, right? What it cares about is the fan deciding as demand, I'm willing to give for this, right? It has whatever reasons fundamentally there, but at the end but it's still a supply and demand that's happening.
Sure.
Yeah, but also if you look at it from the point of the filmmaker, what's in it for him or her? I mean, I know that one of the reasons why Harmony was very interested in this project is that it's small scale, like the budget is small scale. It's a short film. With his feature films, he has to wait for a long time to get these films financed, and then there's all kinds of strings attached and all kinds of complications. And for those kind of filmmakers who just want to make stuff, who are very creative and they can work on different formats or in for different platforms, for them it's a great opportunity to start making stuff.
To keep working. You know?
Yeah, and to keep working and not to sort of like sit around for financing to happen.
There are other models outside of supply and demand. We call that a capitalist model. But the capitalist with a K is actually the manifesto for crowdfunding, capitalism, with a K. You can look that up. I mean, there's certain kind of principles, and not all of them are for profit. There are altruistic kind of crowdfunding, and there are these fan-based things. There are, you know, we love art. We love music. This alternative music band, Arcade Fire from my city, Montreal. You know, this is not signed with any label. It's essentially crowdfunded. For 40 years, there's been crowdfunding in public television in America. It's called Viewers Like You. They put up a thing at the end of each show, you know, donate every September. You donate so that for a year there'll be each of the 300 stations will be able to acquire and help produce culture, essentially. There's been Hollywood works on crowdfunding. If you think most of the money comes from banks. What are banks? Banks are people, individuals putting money into banks, taxpayers getting tax breaks from the public. It's essentially it's the technology that has really changed.
But isn't David Lynch doing a crowdfunding project at the moment?
He's selling paintings, I think.
Selling paintings.
It's a little bit confusing, but in short, yes.
Because obviously, if you're an existing brand, you know, this could be a way to.
But for Lynch, I'm sure it's the same reason that he doesn't want to find finances through the traditional. He struggles to do it, and so this is a good alternative for him. Yeah.
So for both art and commercial projects, it's of value, I think.
Yeah, it's for anything. I mean, if you go in the back of your booklet for Toronto Film Festival, at the back there's the Reitman family gave like $22 million. Then there's like a couple gave, like Visa or somebody gave. It's, you know what I'm talking about, right? You can open it up right now. It's listed. It says like, it's on the back of every book, right? It says like 5 million. Some people gave 500,000. These people gave. I mean, that's crowdfunding. To your point, all that now Indiegogo and all these platforms provide, it becomes retail. Anybody can do it, as opposed to just this huge organization called the Toronto Film Festival. Anybody can do it in 5 minutes. The trend is happening soon, I think years from now, a few years, that David Lynch's, there's going to be big films or big musicians or big whoever that will start using this. Just the way Radiohead gave away their music for free. I mean, we were talking about it like they'll never happen, like, oh, we're just on the, we're the guerrilla people. I mean, the trends are there. Yeah. Obama raised over $1 million a day in sub-$1,000 contributions online. Over $1 million a day in sub-$1,000 contributions online. 10 years ago, if you said in America, I mean, I know we're not in America right now, but in America, 10 years ago, if you said that the presidential campaign would raise that much money through the internet in such little donations, no one would believe you for a second. I mean, this is all where it's going.
It is really about the trends, I mean, it's really about, like, the new technology has enabled the production with small digital cameras.
So do you think Peter Jackson will be raising money for a $100 million movie online?
It won't have to cost $100 million, actually, with the new technology. I mean, Piers Handling was complaining that there are too many Canadian feature films because people have smaller cameras and Canon cameras that are $10,000, and you can make a pretty interesting Harmony Korine type feature film for a lot less than you used to have to make it. I mean, the technology is that trend is happening.
Yeah.
Trends in distribution online are happening, and in the kind of fundraising. In fact, fundraising it's all kind of part of the same thing. It's always been. We've always got financing from distributors, in the sense the audience now is the target audience is also the funding part of it.
And part of the excitement in the film world for this model, but we have to be realistic. I mean, it's not working. I mean, it's never
huge things.
No, it's only small scale projects. But part of the enthusiasm is that, of course, in this whole chain of production, there's a lot of middlemen.
Taking that cut.
Yeah, and this is a way to cut out the middleman.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, you have to be somewhere in the middle of being skeptical and being very optimistic, because the reality is somewhere at the moment, somewhere in the middle.
Let's have some questions.
Kathy Boverd, Open Ceremonial Productions. I'd like to ask about demographics of people who contribute some of it. Yeah, I'd like to ask about demographics. What percentage of money is coming from what age group?
In general, the overall demographics for Indiegogo, for me, skew a little higher in age than I would have predicted. Yeah, totally surprising. The reason actually I rationalize that to myself is because it's a lot of people with money. Okay?
Do you need a credit card?
It's not required. I mean, you can do it through PayPal or through Amazon or through check. But the real answer to your question is it only matters based on the project. So literally, some campaigns have people that are all 18 years old funding it and not one person who's 50. And some campaigns have not one person under the age of 50. And it's, 500 people. So it all depends. But in general, overall, I'm surprised that it skews a little older.
Thanks.
Oh, and you're probably interested. The average contribution on Indiegogo is $84, which is very high, exactly. People would never predict that. And there's actually like a dumbbell effect. There's the low contribution average, which is like around 60. And there's the high, it's not a bell curve. There's a high contribution average, which is about 800, right? So it's not a bell curve in between that. It's kind of like people want to give kind of like a smaller amount, which is 50 on average, or they want to give a considerable amount. So that's data.
So you don't get many ones and twos?
We don't get a lot of ones and twos. It can happen, but that's not the level of support. Keep in mind that you get to set your level of perks and your level of support that you'd like. That doesn't stop somebody from giving another random number. But you can say, I want for $10, I'll give you a T-shirt. For $50, I'll give you this. For $500, you get a credit. So you can lead the witness, lead your funders as to what you want them to give you. Right. But they can still put in whatever they want. But yeah, those averages I thought would be interesting to you.
Kevin Hall, dogdaysrally.com. Now, the topic for the panel today seems to be surrounded around monetary means. My project, I'm actively looking for famous people that are dog crazy to take part in the film. Does anyone at the panel have any suggestions for people that want to donate their time versus monetary means?
I mean, I have an answer to that, just only because we have to deal with this stuff. People ask us to add that functionality all the time. We've decided not to add that functionality because we're trying to be very focused that you get money on our site. That's what happens. That said, regardless of Indiegogo, what I would recommend is you need to have a campaign. You need to centralize your approach. So no matter who you talk to, there's one central point that everybody gets to look at or touch or feel. And what that it can be for you as well, and I know this is marketing, is an Indiegogo campaign, right? So that's exactly how people reach out to influencers. That's how, whatever. They use their campaign and they send it out through Twitter, through Facebook to people that they would hope would see it, as opposed to just saying, I have this idea, can we talk? Because you could do your whole entire pitch on Indiegogo and then just send it to whoever it is you're trying to get in touch with.
I really think part of the motivation is around like how you can contribute, not just in terms of money. I mean, the old models of economic analysis have, discounted the work of women, in the way we consider things. We discount the work of volunteers and how you can contribute. And perhaps that's in the launch of the film, in organizing screenings once the film is done with the good screening system, which is out of Britain and other kinds of systems now where you can be an amplifier, essentially, for the films that you're invested in. I think people are just sort of getting tired of just being the consumers, and they're what we would call prosumers, or in a way, or everybody's a producer in a sense, and can be fulfill an investment role, but also an amplification or role, or the kind of things you're talking about. Value, the question of value is really doesn't just come down to euros and dollars. It comes down to like those unmeasurable things and contributions and feeling good about investing in a certain kind of project.
It's something that we also thought about, because there's a lot of examples of film projects where the audience is really involved also in choices of plot, for example, or choices of main character. And for us, that didn't really work, unless the filmmakers that we work with would like that, and of course. But for us,
not really that type of filmmaker, are they?
No, not really that type of filmmaker, and for us, it was more important that they're auteur filmmakers, really. So it should be up to them what kind of thing they want to make. So in that case, the kind of involvement or support it's hard to find a place for that. But I'm sure that I hope if this experiment is hugely successful, then at the point of promotion, there are possibilities there for that's how also Age of Stupid worked. I mean, once it was financed, the whole buzz around the film was also created by people, giving their time to the project.
I wonder if there's the possibility of some crazy investor becoming obsessed with the project and stalking the filmmaker and expecting a ticket to Sundance, and at what level do you stop the expectations?
I'll answer that actually in a couple of different ways. There's some great stories that have happened. I'm going to keep with film examples as much as possible, but just recently there was a film that was shooting in New York, and as part of the funding campaign, they got a funder from Texas. The person paid for the perk, which is to be on the set, right? They literally flew out from Texas to New York, and they had such a great experience. They weren't filmmakers, the people that actually funded it. They were just people that loosely knew these people through somebody else, but wanted to be affiliated somehow with a movie just to feel it. When they were there, they loved it so much, they actually doubled their money. They gave a second contribution when they were there. And I didn't get any of it because I didn't go through Indiegogo, so that has nothing to do with it. But the point is, no, I'm just showing you how this works. I didn't even profit from that, right? But they loved it so much. Now these people are pushing the movie as if it's their movie, and all they are just somebody that went to the set, right? And then flip side, there's serial funders on Indiegogo, which is crazy, right? Literally, there are people that have funded 90 projects. There are people. I'm not trying to explain to you who these people are. I am not one of them, right? And I work at Indiegogo, right? The point is, it's a market that allows for it to happen.
We've only got time for one more question. Yep.
Question for Slava. Hi, Slava.
Hello.
We were talking outside. Now, I sell Indiegogo to my clients as a crowdfunding model. You've done a lot of metrics over the 2.5 years that you've been in business. I want to know how many of those people how many of those filmmakers, not the other projects you do, but filmmakers, because this is a film festival, how many of them have been able to score large amounts, and I'm talking over 20 grand, as first-time filmmakers, first independent film that they've ever done? Because if I start talking about it and people think, oh, it's going to be that easy, I'm going to just call a few people and 20 grand's mine. It's not that easy. My reputation's on the line. So what can you say about data?
Yeah, what I would say, it's definitely not that easy. Indiegogo does not solve your world's problems. It does not make a good movie for you. I promise. All it is another tool. You get a red camera because it shoots well. You use Indiegogo because it helps you raise money. You have to do all the work. I promise. We amplify it. That's why you use it, whatever. But you do the work.
Can you post your project on multiple sites?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With Indiegogo, there's no exclusivity. In terms of your data answers, I don't know all my filmmakers. I actually don't know most of them. So I don't know who's first time. I could tell you that as a fact, that on Indiegogo, a filmmaker has raised the most money of any platform in the world. So that's fact. That's $70,000. Nobody has raised more than that on a platform. Yes, there's Robert Greenwald, and yes, there's Age of Stupid, but that was on their own through years of a campaign with their own technology. I could tell you that thousands of people that have raised thousands of dollars, right? So that's pretty good information. But I can't even answer your question because I actually don't know the answer to that.
I still think you need all the same compelling values of a good film project,
Sure.
Regardless, whether you use these systems or not, you really do need a kind of persuasive idea.
Let's just have that last question. Did you have a question? Yeah.
Ben Wimpy from Godwin Pictures in Melbourne. Just interested if there's any case studies that you're familiar with Indiegogo where they've used a combination of subsidy funding, crowdfunding and private investment. Because it seems to me, and again it might be my ignorance, but it seems to me that crowdfunding only can raise sort of a small amount. But if you're trying to get $5 million to get a large feature up, have there been, or are there any that you're familiar with sort of in the works that have got sort of distribution deals and that sort of stuff, as well as that combination?
Yeah, the short answer is, on Indiegogo, you do whatever you want. You could either raise all of your money. Yes, the data shows that no one raises millions of dollars yet. That's fact, right? So depending on what your budget is, you could either raise all your money of a small budget, Or yes, there are many examples of people raising small portions of a big budget. There's a great example case study, which is Tapestries of Hope. Tapestries of Hope was raising money through their own means online and on Facebook. They raised a few $1,000s in a couple months. On Indiegogo in 3 weeks, they raised $23,000. In a few weeks, they're going to be distributing it to 100 theaters, right? Yes, they had private investment, they had grants, and they had Indiegogo dollars, which is absolutely endorsed, promoted, and you should do that. I mean, it's up to you to figure out how to raise your money, right? This is just a new tool again. And there's actually a lot of examples of folks that have been getting picked up for distribution, getting into festivals. We have festivals write us, say we want that movie in our festival. We have a partnership with MTV, New Media, where they come to us and they say we want that content. So, I mean, it's like, you can do this on your own too, but it's just so much harder because you're on your own.
There's another kind of flip side of this whole thing, which is really one makes the film, whether crowdsourced or not, crowdfunded or not, and puts it up. And one of the main ideas really is around once the film, you self-finance it, put it up online, and you get people to donate to. You watched my film online, BitTorrent. Now, you give me $5 so I can make my next film. So one of the great purveyors of this idea is Jamie King, and a newly launched site which took 7 years to develop called Vodo, voluntary donation, vodo.net. And he's got like the Yes Men's new film up there, and essentially after watching or downloading the film, you as a kind of generous consumer of media say, yes, we should support artists. Jamie made a film called Steal This Film, self-financed. He put it up. He got 14,000 people to.
Yeah, he's English, right?
English, yeah, living in Berlin and in London. He's an anarchist and a theorist around copyleft, copyright ideas, but he created Vodo. You could go to that, and it's a way of generating future projects in a sense. Once you've made one, and 14,000 people donated thousands of dollars, so he could make Steal This Film 2, and then he subsequently has just finished. The Return of Steal This Film, and he's just made a feature-length film now.
And similarly, presumably you could try and raise money for development funding for your project, based on your previous track record.
That's what he's doing. I mean, it's seed money for the next project.
Okay, I think we have to vacate the stage, so thank you very much to our panelists for their time. Fascinating. So, have you got a comment?
Yeah.
I haven't got one.
Oh, yeah, I'll give you my card.
But can I get mine?